Niels, take it away.
You literally threw over to me as I had a mouthful of water. But in the top left position, we do have the red Protoss player. It is ABOMB. And in the lower left position, we have the blue Zerg. It is Phamut. And that means they're in the vertical spawn positions, which just means that they're a little bit closer by ground and air.
Yeah, it does. Sorry, I was just coughing there.
This wasn't going well to start this game, was it? It's, of course, game 3 of a best of 5. This is the challenger match. Up next, of course, after this best of 5, we will have Wipera v Damaga on Heart of the Swarm in a best of 9, so make sure you stay tuned for that. But so far, these two have put up some really impressive games, actually. Game 1, I like the Muta style out of Phamut. I think it had a lot of potential. ABOMB, just with the aggression, though, was nice, and he did counteract it pretty nice. Then game 2, Phamut shut down the Oracle harassment expertly. There was 3 Oracles, and he lost 2 drones to them.
He was able to play the game that he wanted there. He played a reactionary style. He handled the oracles perfectly. He counterattacked. He did damage. He killed the army, fell back, defended some more, shut down the War Prism harassment, and just won the game on pure macro because ABOMB was staying on 2 bases for such a long time, and Phamut went to a really quick 3 bases. And we all know what happens when Zerg stays on a 3 base for a long time and Protoss stays on 2. Eventually, the Zerg is just going to be overwhelming the Protoss, and that's really what we saw happen in last game. I'm curious to see where this game is going to go to, and it's already different from the first 2 games that we've got in terms of openers.
This is a really, really different opener, actually, from the Zerg player. We've got a hatch first into a gas. I don't remember the last time I saw this against the Protoss player. It is incredibly risky, just because if there's a forge down, you can get cannoned. If there's any form of early aggression, say it was a 1-gate expansion, you'd be in a lot of trouble as well. So this is a very bold move by Phamut.
It definitely is a bold move, but it's going to be paying off for him since ABOMB is going to be nexusing first. Is that something you can say, nexusing first? I don't think it is, but he is doing that, making the nexus first, gateway, and now a forge, so no possibilities for any kind of a cannon rush. And has Phamut scouted that yet? No, he has no idea. For all he knows, there could still be a possibility of a cannon rush, but it would be a little bit late right now. So both players playing a very greedy, very economic opener, and I'm so hoping to see that 1 base Zealot Stalker Mothership Core harassment off of 1 base into expanding later. Hopefully ABOMB or Wipera is going to show us that strategy sometime soon.
Well, it's a nice strategy because, as we mentioned in game 1, I believe it was, that if you get that Mothership Core out early, any harassment you put on is 100% safe. If anything bad starts to happen, you start to lose too many units, your opponent has a good number of Zerglings out or anything like that, all you do is you recall. And then, hey presto, you're back to a Nexus, in your base, you're safe. And if you do damage, brilliant, you're in a good spot. I'm looking at this build out for Phamut actually at the moment, Lurlian, and he's got speed out a lot earlier than we usually see. He's also gone down to just 1 drone in the gas. I'm thinking that the reason he got this hatchery down so quickly is because the 3rd base on this map for a Zerg player isn't the easiest in the world, to be honest. There's 2 very large ramps where you can easily get units down, and of course it's on low ground, slightly exposed. It's got quite a long way away from your natural. It's one of those maps where it can be a little bit awkward, especially if sentries come and put force fields down around your natural, and then you get contained between your 3rd and obviously your main and natural base.
Yeah, it is a new map. It is different from what we're used to. Like the 3rd base is either very wide open or it's very far away and very distant. And the positions in which the players have spawned makes it even more awkward, because if you want to take your usual 3rd base, you're going to be expanding towards each other. And that is usually something especially Zerg players do not want to do.
Indeed. Now, I'm just looking here. ABOMB's getting his Mothership Core down at a very normal time, around that 40 supply mark. It's pretty much a staple of when we see players go for it. And the only thing which is quite interesting, actually, is it's really minor and nitpicky, but he's getting the Mothership Core at the natural, as opposed to the main base, even though the main base is already saturated. And the reason that might seem a bit awkward and, oh my god, Maddles, why are you picking up on that? Is it just means that it takes longer for the probe to get from the main to mining, as opposed to doing the end.
Oh, that's a big thing, man. That's bad. That's going to be game changing. I've been theory crafting on things like that with Jorazar back in the day, like discussing would it be good to saturate this first and then rally all your workers to your other expansion. And a lot of theory crafting has happened on that. And of course, it is in the terms of saturating, it's best to just get 16 probes on minerals in your main base and then rally to your expansion. It's not a good idea to select a bunch of them and then walk them over to your natural, because that's going to mean a lot more lost mining time than you would be losing if they come directly from the Nexus. Anyway, not really a big deal.
Thank you for the knowledge bombs there, is all I can say, Lillian. Back to the game, though. We do have, of course, the Dark Shrine coming out. That was a really early Dark Shrine. I believe it was actually one gate into that Twilight Council, then DT's. DT Shrine is, of course, cheaper now in Heart of the Swarm. It's only 150, which means you can push with it a little bit earlier. There's no detection out at all yet. There's a Spore Caller coming down in the main base, so getting ready. There's a Spire as well, and a Spore in the third. So clearly worried about Oracle harassment. The Zerglings will now see the Pylon coming down, and also the Zealots. So this alerts Phamut to ABOMB's intention to put on aggression. But the Mothership Core there, yet again, ready to recall if needed. Time Warp is there as well. So lots of things the Protoss player can do in this situation.
Yeah, it's so cool to see the use of the Mothership Core. Here the Mothership Core is trying to stay back and defend the pylon, and the 3 DTs do warp in. That's all ABOMB really wanted to do. I don't think he's looking to go all in with this attack, because now it's going to be a little bit harder to reinforce. He does have another pylon in the back. The DTs are now in the main base, but there is the Spore Caller here. The Zerglings are picking up on those DTs and they're taking them out, but the third base is becoming increasingly difficult to hold because those Zealots now have their +1 attack finished up, and so have the DTs, so they're going to be doing a lot of damage to the Zerglings. They're going to be one-shotting them. They would be one-shotting them either way.
The one thing I'm really surprised at, actually, is the DTs in the natural didn't go for this Spire. They could have comfortably have killed that Spire down by now, which would have put Phamut so far back in the terms of tech and his overall game plans. So perhaps a missed opportunity there for ABOMB. But so far, a lot of workers have been, well, not actually that many, 5 have been killed. This third hatchery is about to go down, though, and that is always a terrible position for a Zerg player to be in, losing that third.
Yeah. Phamut not going to be happy now. He's down by 20 supply. He is down by 15 workers. He's down by 20 supply. And his last desperation move is going to be making as many mutas as possible and try to make something work here. He is very, very far behind. It's going to be really difficult for him to come back. The Zerglings have +1 attack finished up as well. But like I said earlier, +1 attack on Zerglings is not as useful as +1 attack is on the Zealots, because Zealots are going to be two-shotting the Zerglings, and the Zerglings will still take a lot of attacks to kill the Zealots.
Indeed. Now, the mutas have come out. There are overseers around, but have you seen this nasty little move ABOMB is doing? He's actually using 3 Zealots to wall off the ramp between the main and natural base of Phamut. That is just harsh, in my opinion. That has gotta hurt when you're just like, I can't even go up there with my Zerglings. The Roach Warren was skipped again this game, which we saw in game 1, of course, and this is where Phamut had some difficulties previously with that type of aggression by skipping that Roach Warren. So I'm reckoning we'll see that change. Of course, behind all of this aggression, ABOMB has managed to secure his third base, and he's getting a good number of cannons down straight away in order to deal with these mutas.
Yeah, he is extremely safe right now. The muta count is somewhat low. It's at 10. He does have a little bit of a chance, but as soon as those cannons finish up, he has no business here. There's a lot of cannons in the main base too, at least the 3 of them here. So it's going to be very hard for Phamut to make anything work with his mutas. In game 1, we saw him come back, equalize the score, and almost get back into the game using his mutas. But this game is going to be a little bit more difficult because ABOMB is better prepared than he was in game 1 for the muta pull-up.
Indeed he is. We're seeing Photon Overcharge being used on the Nexi very well already. And for those of you who didn't know, of course, the Nexus can get Photon Overcharged by the Mothership Core to give it an attack where it is able to hit air units at a very long range. So that even further helps the defense of the bases from these Mutalisks. In come the DT, so luckily an Overseer on its way to the third base. So the third hatchery is safe for the moment for the Zerg player, but anything can change as we've seen in this game so far. And looking around, there's not really any sign of a transition from Phamut at the moment, just committing completely to these Mutalisks.
He's gonna have to make more mutas right now. If he tries to be super greedy and go for Hive or anything, he's just not ready for the next step yet. He's on 40 workers. He's on 2 bases. He's just now getting his third base back up. He has to stay on Muta Ling for a little while and find some angle to make things work, because going into Hive right now would be way too big of a risk to take. He would have 0 defense, and ABOMB would be able to basically move to win.
You've been waiting to say that, hadn't you? You thought of that this afternoon somewhere, and you're like, I'm going to write this one down. ABOMB's going to move into Phamut. But indeed, the one thing perhaps Phamut could be doing in this situation, I don't know if you've noticed, he's banking up quite a few minerals at the moment, is perhaps a double expansion would have been a good move there. Having lost the third, you've got to take a risk economically, because as you correctly pointed out, Lurlian, he is behind in the workers by quite a substantial amount, 75 to 48. So if he'd taken that 4th base while taking his 3rd, it would have given him the opportunity to get back if he's not really using those minerals for anything else. But we can see these mutas are going in, they're picking off the cannons in the main base, because there are just so many of them at 21. So many probes are dying here so many drones are dying here for ABOMB from these mutalisks.
Oh wow, he's even gonna head up and engage these Stalkers, and the rest of the Stalkers of ABOMB misblinked and are still stuck at the 3rd base. So a lot of damage is being dealt here by Phamut, but now the Nexus Overcharge once again comes in, the Photon Overcharge, and the Stalkers are gonna be scaring away those mutas. A lot of mutas died there, but there's still 12 left with 4 more on the way, so we're gonna go back up to 16 mutas, which is still a pretty scary amount. More mutas coming up by Phamut. He is really, really staying committed to these mutas, and he needs to start thinking about that follow-up. We talked about that in Game 1, Maddles. Mutas are good, but you have to transition out of them at some point.
You do indeed, and Phamut, he's trying to get to that spot. As I mentioned before we saw that engagement in the main with the mutas, there is the 4th base coming down, but unfortunately, ABOMB does have a Warp Prism flying straight over it. It's not getting selected though, which means that he hasn't noticed it quite yet, but of course it will show up on the minimap now, so it's been scouted. It's going to be a vulnerable spot for Phamut because it's so far away from his main and natural, obviously, that defending everything could be a little bit tough. The Baning Nest is on its way, but so are the Templar Archives for ABOMB, so he's really getting ready to deal as best he can with the mutas, who are still trying to poke and prod into the main and natural.
They're trying to keep ABOMB distracted a little bit, but ABOMB, he is not distracted. He's multitasking like a boss, warping in Zealots and DTs, kills the Baneling Nest before it even finishes, so no Banelings are going to be popping out anytime soon. Drones are being cut left and right, the new physics engine showing pretty nicely, pretty gory how these drones are going to be splattered to pieces by the DTs, and at the same time ABOMB is going to be moving to victory right now, up 30 supply, and up in upgrades, up in pretty much everything. He's got Archons in his army composition, he's got a few Immortals, got the Zealots, and this is a very, very doomed mission for Phamut.
It is. The mutas are trying to go for a last-ditch effort and doing a good job, actually, but the warp in of additional Stalkers will make it too much. The blink there, just backing them out, trying to engage a few Stalkers at a time. We're seeing this Stalker flock diminish very quickly. And there is the GG, well played out of Phamut, and ABOMB goes 2-1. So should he win the next game, he will take the series. Of course, Phamut is going to be playing